extraordinarily successful people are just ordinary people who are able to focus on one thing for a long time, for extraordinarily long time. That's how he defines extraordinarily successful people.
Hello, fellow entrepreneurs and Triple M Nation. This is Steve Hamoen here, and this is the Money, Mindset, and Mentoring Podcast, your go-to resource for breaking financial plateaus and taking your business to the next level. Whether you're just starting your entrepreneurial experience or you're a seasoned veteran striving for expansion, you are in the right place. As myself, as a successful entrepreneur in tech, construction, real estate, mortgages and financing, and in my business consulting, I have helped countless individuals achieve their financial success by pinpointing their challenges and guiding them to creating massively successful outcomes. Now, don't worry. It doesn't matter if you're making under $100,000 or if you're making well over $1 million. This show's intention is to offer you a fresh perspective and provide actionable advice to help you drive your success. Each week, we bring in powerful stories of guests who've wrestled with challenges, much like yours, and have emerged victorious. These stories are not far-fetched fantasies. They are possible and they are real. And they are a testament to what you can achieve with the right mindset and the right strategies. Expect an in-depth market analysis, empowering insight into sales and marketing and HR, and above all, an unwavering commitment to you to guide you towards achieving your financial goals. So are you ready to unlock your entrepreneurial potential? Join me every week on all the major platforms. Welcome to the Money, Mindset, and Mentoring Podcast, where success isn't just a dream, it's a journey we will embark on together. Hey everybody, we are here today with my special guest here, Sardor Akhmedov. And Sardor, it is so great to meet with you. Your story is absolutely amazing. I love what you're doing with Jafton. You know, being a leader in the development in the mobile space, you are absolutely crushing it. I just want to really thank you for taking the time to come and join me on Money Mindset Mentoring Podcast. And welcome and introduce yourself to everybody.
Hey, Steve. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Very excited to be here. So yeah, I'm Sardor. I'm tech entrepreneur. I'm 25, based out of Miami, originally from Uzbekistan, and been in tech business for the past 5 years, and I've been identifying as entrepreneur since age of 10. So yeah, that's a little bit of a background in a nutshell. Happy to dive deeper into anything specific you want to talk about.
Let's just hit that off really quick, because I think, you said that in such a calm demeanor of everybody does it, but I want to hit that off. Started off entrepreneurial spirit at 10, and you are 25 from Uzbekistan in Miami, running a massive business, doing the digital development for the mobile platforms. How did this all happen, man? That's no small endeavor.
For sure, yeah. I mean, like I said, as long as I remember myself, I've always wanted to be in business and especially tech, right? I've always been interested in tech. So when I first came to the US, that was 9 years ago. I was 16. I came here for high school initially, studied in high school for 2 years, my junior and senior years, and then went on to study in college in New York for a year. And then I switched to a school in California and then ended up dropping out after a year and a half. And that was because I was already involved with a business, not tech business at the time. It was actually in the sport nutrition distribution industry, right? It was something that, the fancy word is passionate, but I wasn't passionate. It was just something that was just bluntly just making money, right?
Yeah.
I accidentally
making money is a passion. That's a good thing.
Well, sure. Yeah. That's one passion that definitely doesn't go away. Yeah. So, exactly. Yeah. So I was in that business, and we were at the time, I think, making $50,000 a month revenue, which was okay for a college student. And then, that's why I dropped out of college, because I just kind of saw that, hey, I can, I already found what I'm doing. I if I focus more on business, this is just going to make more sense than staying in college, right? So I dropped out. But how I got into this business, Jafton, is actually a little bit of an unconventional way. So most entrepreneurs, they start a business from scratch, right? They just, either bootstrap or they raise funding and they start a business like that. For me, it was a way that I got into this was through working and bringing a sweat equity, right? So I joined the company when it was already 6 years into the business, but it was still like a smaller business compared to what it's now. It was about 15 people at a time, and we weren't doing massive projects. We were doing like smaller projects.
How long ago was that when you joined?
That was 2019, right? So I was I just dropped out of college back then. I was in my after a semester after dropping out. It was the summer of 2019, basically. Yeah. So I joined in the business development role as an employee first, right? And then the deal was that I can work my way up through sweat equity into co-owning this company, which I do now. And so pretty much, my kind of what I brought into the table was my dedication to growing this company through, sales, basically just focusing on sales all day, lead gen sales all day. And to this day, I still lead the sales team, right? So back then it was myself. Now I have a sales team, and I'm the chief revenue officer and a managing partner here. So that's how I got into this business, right? So I knew my mentor, who's now my business partner, who was just pretty much helping me get into tech business by, offering me this job, and then with a deal that I could transition into a partnership.
And so back then, when you joined, there was how many people in the company?
About 15.
And how many are in the company now?
Over 120 right now.
That's an amazing improvement. Congratulations, man. That is awesome.
Thank you.
That is super exciting. When you look, and it's so interesting when people talk about, revenue, and they talk about profit, they talk about money. The one thing that I find very interesting is they're always talking about hey, that I can buy that new car, I can buy that new house. But what you really did by honing in on lead generation, honing in on growing the business, honing in on revenue, is you created opportunities for that many people to build a career for themselves, because as a result of the activity that you did, and you must be so proud.
Absolutely, yes. And this is why, sales is the forefront. It's you don't have sales, you don't have no business, right? So I'm glad I was able to focus on it, because initially, I didn't even know that I should focus on sales. I didn't know that the sales is the transition into entrepreneurship, the closest job that it gets to entrepreneurship, right? So, thanks to my business partner, Babir, who was as my mentor, just kind of had me focus on sales and sales only, right? Because I was interested in like product management, I was interested in project management, I was interested in other things, and I wanted to do like 10 different things at a company. He's like, nope, you only do one thing and do that well and learn this and become the best at it. And I'm so glad he gave me that direction, right? Because this is, even though I was doing sales, he was the one who was giving me that direction, and, credits to him for like seeing a bigger picture. And he's much older than me. He's 15 years older, more experienced. So like, that was a big advantage that I had somebody who knew already what not to do and what to do. So I definitely had that shortcut into getting into business and into sales.
Nice. That's amazing. And now you look at what you've done and how you've got to where you are today. Every day we look, and it's not about what we've done, but it's about where we're going. That's always the most exciting story. So where's Sardor going over the next year, the next 5 years? What is your landscape look like in the future? That's the exciting part.
Yeah, it's interesting. I honestly even afraid to tell because things change even throughout this year. A lot of things that I'm now focused on, I haven't even thought about that I'd be focusing on, right? When I just joined the company, the kind of an attitude for both myself and my business partner has been that this agency that we're running is a cash cow, but it's going to be the gateway for us to build our own product. Okay. And that has kind of shifted slightly, because now we actually want to build a big consultancy business, right? We want to grow this business even larger. We don't want to just, look at it as just a cash cow and like a revenue stream to support our other endeavors. We want to look at it more as like the focus of the business. And one way we want to grow this agency is through acquisitions, right? So want to acquire other agencies and want to build a really big consultancy business, a 9-figure business now, right? So
beautiful.
That's the next goal, to get it to a 9-figure valuation. And then maybe after that, have some kind of an exit, and then focus on new endeavors, which there's some ideas there. I have 193 ideas written in my notepad, so we'll see what's next. But that's a couple of years from now. For the next few years, I'm still going to be focusing on Jafton and just growing this agency.
The best thing is your single-minded purposeness. You know, you've got your vision, you've got your craft honed in, and you're just in multiplication mode. And I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah, I was reading this post from Sahil Bloom yesterday. He's one of my favorite creators, influencers. And he posted that one thing that he commonly finds among all these like very rich and successful people is that they're able to focus on one thing for the extraordinary amount of time, right? So actually, the way he phrased it was interesting. He said, extraordinarily successful people are just ordinary people who are able to focus on one thing for a long time, for extraordinarily long time. That's how he defines extraordinarily successful people. It was interesting.
I love that. I love the word extraordinary as well, because I mean, I think, you know, especially, you know, given the current economic climate that we're seeing, I mean, we certainly see it in Canada, we see it in the United States, where, you know, there's definitely a dip in consumer purchasing. There's a dip in corporate spend, you know, as the money starts drying up and all of that easy money that was in is vaporizing. You know, we're seeing that, you know, there are extraordinary conditions in the negative. And I think for people to just maintain mediocrity, they cannot do ordinary tasks. They've got to operate in an extraordinary manner just to maintain normality, let alone looking at growth. I don't know what word you'd use that's bigger than extraordinary, but you'd say it's what 10x extraordinary is probably the way to go, because that's the amount of effort that's required to be ahead of the game versus just hitting normality.
100%. And you mentioned a really good point. You're talking about like the bear market, right? And the market kind of going down. But one thing is that actually I'm very bullish on a bear market. Why? Yep. Because, you know, even though market itself could be shrinking a little bit, right, as far as like the spending activity and whatnot. But the way I look at it is, hey, where are we in the market share? Like with our company, for example, right? We probably haven't even scratched the surface with what we could be doing in revenue, what we could be doing in headcount, and what could be doing as far as the business activity and the logos that we have in our portfolio, right? So the way I talk to my sales team is that, hey, market could be shrinking all day, but we're not near the top of market, right? If we were the Accenture or the Deloitte, the multi-billion-dollar corporations that have just pretty much maxed out their caps in the market, then yeah, the market shrinking would affect them because they're already at the top of the market, right? We're at the bottom of the market still, you know, with our, you know, where we at. So there's so much more room to grow, even in a shrinking market. All we have to do is just like you said, you know, extraordinary amount of effort, yes, but we haven't nearly done as much effort as these big companies have done anyways, right? So there's so much more to grow, even in the shrinking market. We aren't absolutely scratching the surface, you know.
Well, I think a lot of people, what they'll do is, and we see this in the real estate space especially, there's a lot of real estate agents, oh, you know, real estate's going down in value. Oh, interest rates are going up. Oh, it's really tough. There's not as many houses selling. So it's going to be a really tough year. And it's like, really? What percentage of the market do you represent? And so if somebody else is feeling the same way as you and they reduce their activity, that's the perfect time to strike harder to take market share. Because when they're sitting on their heels, you're on your toes and you're moving.
100%. That's actually what one of my clients, Patrick Van David, might know, talks about is you know the bear market is the perfect time to go bullish because everybody else is sleeping. You know, like you said, everybody else is that, you know, in that down mode. They're in that bearish mood, and if you go bullish, you actually have an advantage. Yeah, because nobody else is on the hunt.
Absolutely. When you're, you know, it's funny because even if just, I think there's three things, in my opinion, that really kind of help. And you can probably solve most sales problems with these three problems. And the three problems are, first of all, is attitude. And if your attitude is off, your numbers are going to be off. If you think the market's going to kill you, of course it's going to, because that's what you believe. If you think 100%. You're going to crush it, you're that much better poised. The second 100%. Thing is that you look as your approach, is what can you do in your approach to make it more successful? You know, is it your pitch? Is it the people you're talking to? You know, is it shifting your product offer? What is it? And the last thing is, which is the one that people discount the most, but I think impacts massively is activity. Is how much action are you taking against that target? And if you're shrinking on your activity, if your approach is off and your attitude's bad, well, of course it's going to be a terrible market. But if all of those things are on fire, you are unstoppable in a market like this.
100%. Yeah. And I see that book Behind Your Back with Hormozy, right? That's what he talks about. Yeah, you can always improve your lead gen. You can always improve your offers, right? And it's if your offer is good enough, and your activity is, like you said, is on the uprise, then the market can't make you slow down. If anything, you can grow. And I'm proud actually that we've been able to grow in the past 12 or 20 months, even with the bear market, because of that, because of the increased activity.
Absolutely. And I think that's the same thing with our mortgage brokerage. Our fourth quarter is going to be our best quarter of the year. And, when I talk to real estate agents about that, their jaws sort of drop. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, we just doubled down on activity. We had a post that we just put up on YouTube, and it's trending so fast right out of the gate. And it's because we're just putting so much activity into our social media. And and it's something that we've never done before. We've always been very sales focused, not very marketing driven. And now we've thrown the marketing on top, and the multiplier effect is just profound. And, it's one thing that Grant Cardone talks about, a lot. And it's the reason why I was drawn to him and now I'm a 10X certified business coach with him, is because, when he said marketing is senior to sales, at first I was like, that's a crock of, whatever. And because I always was, adverse to marketing. Well, maybe it's just because I had bad marketing departments, and that was probably the problem, And so then, now looking at marketing and seeing how much impact can happen, it is absolutely fantastic to see, how quickly you can grow by really having a good concerted effort in your marketing programs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like I said, goes hand in hand with sales and marketing. You gotta have both.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of the things that was great in our pre-conversations that we were talking about is that we were talking about the differences between Sell or Be Sold and Be Obsessed or Be Average. And which book was the better book? I was on the Sell or Be Sold, and you were on the Be Obsessed or Be Average.
Well, back to our attitude, right? I listened to those books separately, and I listened to those books together, kind of back to back as well. And Be Obsessed or Be Average, Cardone goes like, attitude wise, I think he goes like so much more energy, so much more like, his tone has changed. I remember I listened to it back to back, and I'm like, whoa, Sell or Be Sold was like great, good stable tone. But this Be Obsessed or Be Average, he literally is obsessed with this tone, and I just like the energy of that book, right? And I like the name, even like being obsessed. Yeah, you got to be obsessed. Like you got to be paranoid and be, obsessed with what you're doing to be able to do that 10x result, that 10x extraordinary achievement.
Now, what I really like about what you just said, not only that I really agree with what you're saying. I think content wise, Be Obsessed or Be Average is just so next level. I think the starting point of Sell or Be Sold, the accessibility of the content, is what I really like about the Sell or Be Sold. It's sort of universally accepted, and then the people who are looking to take that next level, getting to Be Obsessed or Be Average, is I think the next thing.
But both are great books.
Absolutely, and what I liked about it is, and this is why I think at 25 you're an absolute killer, is how many times did you say you read you listen to those books?
I count at least 3 times each, because this was on repeat, and I listened to audiobook. Every time I went,
Absolutely.
It was like I did that.
He crushes it on the audio side.
Yeah, and that's what I meant by attitude and the energy is that, like on the audiobook, if you listen to those back to back, you'll notice how in the Be Obsessed or Be Average, his tone is just like so much higher pitch and like more aggressive. But you like that; it gives you more energy because he's so pumped up in that book, and the way he reads it is what makes a difference. But the
thing is you listen to it a bunch of times, which means that you really, not only do you look at your activity, but you're really dialed into training, and you're really dialed into learning and growing. We talked already about, we nailed the Alex Hormozy, we hit off Grant. We could lift off 5 or 6 other people instantly that you read. How many books do you read or listen to a year or even a month?
Yeah, I try to keep it at least once a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything extra, I add in, but I keep my minimum at once a month. Like the audiobook, it's always on when I'm at the gym. It's always on when I'm driving. So it just kind of goes on the background. So the minimum being once a month is a safe number.
Yep.
Don't go like once a week. That would be exaggeration. But realistically, if you keep it that once a month, then that you hit that quota,
Yep.
for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. See, I love it that you've integrated into the other tasks to stack, because I think in order for you to be successful, you have to figure out how to compress time. I think everybody in their lifetime is going to make $1 million, right? Some people make it $20,000 a year over a very long period of time. Some people make it in a month. Some people make it in a day. So in order to be successful, you got to figure out how to compress time. And the way that you're doing it, through the power of your team, through the power of stacking your calendar so that, hey, I'm at the gym. Guess what? I'm listening to a book as well, rather than just listening to something else that's not going to, push me to learn. And I think those are the reasons why I think, that, and, you've become very skillful as a result, right?
100%. Yeah, you mentioned a really good point. Exactly. It's, I never thought about it this way. Yeah, everybody in their lifetime will make that amount. It's about how fast you make it and how much of it you can retain. And I think the good word for that is leverage, right? This is what I've been also looking at lately. Like leverage is when you're able to do more within less time and more result, and through using different tools, through using different, people in your team, right? That's leverage. I mean, I'm on this podcast right now, but my team is working,
Absolutely.
and that's leverage. And that's compressing time, like you said.
Absolutely. And to me, I think the more that people can realize that, I think a lot of people, when they get into being self-employed, they fall into the self-employed trap. And the self-employed trap is the idea that I'm my own boss. I do everything the best. Nobody can do it better than me. So I'm not going to give it to Jane because, she'll never do it as good as I do it. And that trap is such a difficult trap. And the person who becomes an entrepreneur, by bringing on the responsibilities of all those other people, you're responsible for them. You're responsible for their success. But by bringing them on, you really are able to then multiply your impact.
100%. And you mentioned another really good point is that, a lot of people can't do it because they think I'm not going to be able to find somebody who's as good as me. And I'm guilty of that up until recently as well. Like I'm all for delegation. We hire a lot of people, but some roles I just couldn't delegate. I just couldn't trust. And one good friend of mine mentioned this really good quote. He said, dude, you will never find anybody who's as good as you are, but you will find either somebody who's worse than you or somebody who's better than you. And your goal is to find somebody who's better than you, right? We're never going to find exactly the same copy of yourself. That's just, don't even, you're stressing on the wrong thing, you said. And I was like, damn, you're absolutely right. Let me go find somebody who's better. And I was able to find, somebody who's going to do, some of the roles I was doing better than me. And I was able to delegate way more this year because of that.
I'd love when you're sitting in a meeting, and I don't know if you've ever had this happen, where you're sitting in a meeting, and I had this happen at my mortgage brokerage. It was just this week, actually. And they were going to do something, proposing a way to handle a situation. I'm like, guys, you can't do it that way. Like, that just is not the right way to do. You need to do it like this. And no, it's not going to happen. And they turn around, they're like, no, Steve, we've actually done it like this for the past 5 deals of this type. And
it worked.
Yeah. And I'm like, and it's great because you're like, when your team is really blossoms and they get better than you and correct you, it's just a beautiful
so good,
thing.
Though. Yeah,
it does. So it truly does. And it's funny. Yeah. I get the same thing. I coach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I have this guy that I'm coaching right now on the team, and he's built like a Greek Adonis, like just, jacked to the nines, just stronger than strong. And, now I can handle him because I've trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 10 years.
Wow.
But my whole goal is that, within probably 6 months to a year, it's going to be near impossible to handle this dude, because once he gets the skills, oh man. And that's to people are like, how do you deal with that? I'm like, I love it. And I love the fact that they're able to beat me, because if they're able to beat me, I've succeeded as a coach.
Yeah.
Right.
100%. There's a saying in our culture in Uzbekistan, and I'm going to paraphrase it, not the exact one, but it goes along the lines of like, if your mentee didn't beat you, he's not a good mentee, And you gotta really pick the
I
good
love
mentees
it.
that can teach
I
you.
love it. I love it. That is such an amazing quote. Now, one of the things that I always like to look at, and I say, if we can try to find the humps that happen in business, like everybody's going to have their adversities. I think hero stories, the best hero stories, are where people have hit an adversity point and gone over that adversity point. It's not that person. I mean, everybody likes watching, the Jerry Seinfeld. This book is about nothing, right? Or this show's about nothing. And sometimes those shows are funny, but when you're looking at a true hero story, the bigger the adversity that's been overcome, the bigger the hero in the end of the book or the end of the movie. Talk about, maybe one of those big things that you've overcome, what it felt like going through it, and then how you came out on the other side.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm an absolute believer in that the adversity is the foundation of success, right? And like you said, the bigger the hero you become at the end of it. For me, the bigger kind of the biggest challenge in that I've been able to overcome that I'm proud of is what I'm doing day to day right now involves a lot of communication, a lot of sales, a lot of convincing, a lot of leadership, right? Because on one hand, I'm dealing with my team that has to, follow my leadership. And on the other hand, I'm dealing with the customers who also have to believe in me as the vendor. And that's something that I've always struggled with as a kid. Like actually, me being outspoken now is actually the result of a lot of work because I was an extremely not only shy kid, but also very super insecure, super self-conscious, like to the point where I wouldn't be able to even like ask a waiter for a check at a restaurant when we went out for a family dinner, when my dad asked me to do it. So I've overcome that through just going out and putting myself out there. At the age of 14, I got my first job as a door-to-door salesman, working for my dad. Extremely difficult, super self-conscious
Your first
kid.
job was door-to-door sales.
Door-to-door sales, yeah. At the age of 14. And I started off as a super, super shy, super insecure, but the end of that summer, it was the summer of 2012, came out on the other hand as one of the top agents, actually.
Your dad's a killer, man. That's amazing. What a great way to help you like dive in deep and own your disability to make it an ability. Like that's 100%. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Kudos to him. He really pushed me. He said, yeah, you got to go underground and just do this job. And, one thing that I had that attitude, as well. Like I didn't have the skill to sell. I didn't know what to say. I could come and like mumble, like one of those memes on TikTok I saw where the kid is trying to order pizza and they rehearse it like, before the call, they're like, hey, I just need the pepperoni pizza. I just need the pepperoni pizza. And they call and they say, hey, I'm pizza. So I was that kid, who would come in and be like, rehearse a speech in my head before coming into the store, door-to-door sales. I was selling wholesale ice cream, right? And I would come in and almost say like, hey, hi, I'm ice cream, But guess what? I kept doing that and kept doing that and kept doing that. That's one thing that even though I didn't have the skill of sales, I had the persistence, right? I had the attitude of no matter what, I'm going to keep doing and go doing that in the right numbers. And it's going to work. It's guaranteed to work if you do it the right amount of times. Even if you are the worst salesperson in the world, do it enough times, you're going to get one deal,
Absolutely. In jiu-jitsu world, we say a black belt is just a white belt that just never quit.
Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly what you did. And that's amazing to hear.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. And that applies to everything. Yep.
Absolutely. Now, when we talk about Jafton and we talk about the direction of where you guys are going, what are some of the new and exciting things? I mean, everybody always have new stuff on the horizon. And obviously you're talking about adding more consultancies into your space, more product lines. And I love that because, there's a client of mine that we were working with. What we did with them to really help them grow their revenue was just hit a different product different offer and put it in a different product. And that radically changed and grew their business. And so when we look at yours and we're looking at your business and, the direction of that business, what does that look like? What are some of the new and great things that you guys are doing?
Yes. So actually, one of the things we did to increase the revenue and be more successful with the business is actually the opposite of offering more things. We started offering less. About 2 or 3 years ago, actually, we switched our focus from general software development to more specifically going into mobile, right? So we niched out. That was like actually a good choice because then, it's easier to sell this specific service when you're more focused on it rather than other generalists being, just generalists and you're a specialist. But What we also are doing though now to take it to the next level now from like, what we did previously is exploring new technologies on the development side, right? Technologies that are going to make the work more efficient. And as a matter of fact, to give an example, a year and a half ago, we went into this new technology called low code, which is essentially, you're familiar, right? Yeah.
Oh, I love low code.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an amazing method of development, right? There's many different tools that some are good, some are not. We found the good ones, and what that gave us is the competitive advantage on speed, right? So when our clients come to us, one thing that we can beat most of our competitors on is speed, right? We can develop faster than a lot of other firms out there, and we're always on that hunt to improve the service and improve the offer for our client, so that it's more appealing, because it's a very competitive space. I mean, there's around 30,000 different app development companies that are marketing to the US. And to stand out, you really have to do something that's different than everybody else's,
Absolutely. And what is your messaging that you're using to stand out with?
So we talk about speed, like I said, through low code. We also, our method is different than the industry standard of what's called the time and material approach, where most of the companies, when you come to them, they'll quote you out based on hours. They'll say, hey, this will take X amount of hours and this is the cost. But guess what? That's an estimate, right? So, and the odds are they're going to go over that estimate and you're going to have to overpay.
They never come in below?
Right? Yeah. And they don't. Most of the often they don't, because they probably lowball you to get your business, right? So one thing, I was discussing this with one of the potential clients, this lead this morning. He was shocked. He's like, why don't you guys provide hours? I want to compare apples to apples. Everybody's giving me hours and you guys aren't. You guys are just giving me the price. I said, that's actually to your help, because one thing that we stand out with is that in our offer, we don't give you hours. You're not buying hours from us. We give you the result and we give you the guaranteed price. So what we give our clients is that, hey, you give me the scope, you tell me exactly what you want, I'll give you the exact precise price, and I'm going to stick to it no matter what. I can spend double the amount of hours that I thought I would spend. You're not going to have to pay for it. I'll take that risk. But you have a guaranteed price from A to Z to get this thing done. Your price is not going to change. And that's something that no company offers in the market right now.
That is absolutely fantastic. That, it is funny because that's a commitment, right? I mean, you're giving them a commitment. And I think that commitment, as somebody who's done software projects before in the past and knows what project creep looks like, and knows those kind of things. How do you handle those when those situations come up where the expectation started as A and then migrate to B when you're on one of those fixed situations?
Oh yeah, we've struggled with that a lot. I mean, project creeps, like going over budget, losing money. So right now we mitigate the risk through we assess the project on the first discovery call, and we decide on one of the two ways, basically. If the project is pretty straightforward, it's something that we've done times and times again. Yeah, we have a scope that's already super, super detailed that we show to the customer, and we walk them through it to make sure we're not missing anything and that this is communicated well. And if we check all boxes, then we give that final price. But if the project is one of a kind, we've never done it, we have a second route that's called the discovery phase / we call it the technical deep dive. They pay a set fee, which is, by the way, fully refundable if they decide not to go with us after that phase.
Yep.
But in that phase, we create a couple pages of design, and we create a super detailed scope of work that literally just describe every single step of the app, and we go over with them for up to 4 weeks to create that scope, right? And then once that scope is super defined, then we give that final price. So it's a hard thing for us to do, right? Because we're setting ourselves up. If there's something we haven't considered, right, we can go to that scope creep, and we are guaranteed that the client isn't going to pay for it. So for that reason, we try to make sure on the initial stage before the contract is signed that the scope is extremely detailed, and we're going to address as many of the possible scope creeps as we can, because we've had so many of those before. And every time we do, we just include it in that category. We have like a whole library of scopes of work. And and again, it's not like you can never be 100% perfect and predict everything. And if the scope creep does happen and it wasn't something that was in the scope, we'll just come back to the client and tell them, hey, we gave you a guarantee that on this scope, it's going to be this price, but what you want was actually never discussed with us. So we'll have to just give you a separate quote for it. And everything's transparent. This is how much it's going to cost. And they decide if they want to add it or not.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And, the thing is, that's the difference, I think, when there's a lot of the development companies out there and they're billing by the hour, all they are, they're just really HR companies. They're not software companies.
Yeah.
Because they're just human capital companies. Whereas what you're really doing is saying, no, we are a solutions company because we are providing a solution at a fixed price and we're going to commit to getting it done for them. Yeah. That's an amazing process.
And we do have hourly as well. Some people just straight up want to just add resources. We call that staff augmentation service. That's separate as well. But most clients, they just want to pay per project. And that's something unique that we offer, taking on the risk and mitigating the risk on their end. To that's Hormozi's method as well. I want to make offers so good that people just can't resist it and, feels stupid saying no,
Exactly. Now, and if anybody wants to get a hold of your company, it's Jafton, JAFTON.com. That's the website to go to. I know, apps are one of the big things that people are really pushing. Everybody wants to have an app. And, it's one of those things that can really, define a business's, relationship with their clients by having something that's really branded to them and creates an experience and an environment for the clients to work in. And so, and I think your number is 212-499-0000 is to get a hold of you there. And any parting things that you want to leave with the community here? Anything that you'd love to talk about?
No, I think we've talked about great things here. I love the format, Steve. Like many other podcasts I've been on, this is way more conversational. You add your own, intakes. It's not just me talking. So I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on. And if anybody wants to talk one-on-one, reach out to me on any social media. Just type in my first and last name, Sardor Akhmedov. And you can also find me if you want to book a video call with me on this app called Meneck, one of our projects that we built for our client.
Do you want to spell that just so that the listeners can grab that?
Sure. It's Minnect, Meneck. It's a combination of words, minute and connect. And then you can download this app and you can talk to myself. Also, you have some very famous people like Andrew Tate there on that app. You can also have a
there we go.
Call with maybe controversial, but
He just said Canada's terrible, so I don't know what I think of it.
I'm not going to take responsibility for his words, but
no, I don't care. He's just great at creating attention. He's one of those people where you know what, he's really good at is creating attention. Which is
100%. He's very.
I think attention is so important to have because that's what will drive your.
It's the currency of today's world,
Absolutely. Well, Sardor, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Thank you for all the knowledge drops. You're so inspiring at 25 to be, not only doing what you're doing, but to be thinking the way that you're thinking and communicating in such a powerful way, especially, talking about your Achilles heel of communication at the starting point to develop to where you are now. That's just a testament to a commitment to getting to where you want to go. And that's just an unbelievable story. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Steve. I really enjoyed it. And hope to come back one day and talk more about some new things going on.
Love it. I absolutely love it. And with this, guys, we're signing off, and we're so excited for us to bring on our next guest for the next week. And tune in to us every week and see who we are bringing on to share their mindset, their money, and who their mentors are. Check it out. And Triple M Nation, that is a wrap for this week's episode of the Money, Mindset, and Mentoring Podcast. This is your host, Steve Hamoen, reminding you that success is not just a destination, but a journey that we take together. I hope our discussions today have sparked ideas, challenged your thinking, and ultimately equipped you with strategies for financial and entrepreneurial growth. Remember, every challenge is a stepping stone towards your goals, and every victory brings you closer to your vision. Let's continue to learn, evolve, and reach for the stars together. Stay tuned for next week's episode, packed with more inspiring stories and insightful discussions. If you found value in our time together today, don't forget to subscribe, share, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Until then, Keep fostering that growth mindset. Keep leveraging money as a tool for your expansion, and never stop believing in the power of your dreams. This is Steve Hamoen signing off. See you next time, Triple M Nation, on the Money, Mindset, and Mentoring Podcast.